This weekend, fight fans are in for a treat as Joaquin Buckley steps into the octagon against Colby Covington. Having once sharpened their skills together in the gym, both fighters are now putting their familiarity to the ultimate test in the cage. Buckley, known for his explosive striking, will aim to use his power to disrupt Covington's relentless pace and grappling. Meanwhile, Colby, stepping in on short notice, brings his trademark cardio and pressure, backed by the confidence of knowing Buckley's tendencies from their time as teammates. Colby has shown a lot of confidence leading up to the fight, claiming that his performance will be the best of his career. He was later asked about potential Kamaru Usman trilogy. He made it clear that he wants the trilogy, claiming that the first two fights weren't fair to him. He didn't hold back, saying that the circumstances of those fights, especially the first one, didn't show his true superiority over Usman. It once seemed like Colby and Usman had squashed the beef, but as it seems, they're far from it. Hear what Colby had to say.
I hope so. I really want that trilogy fight. There's definitely unfinished business there. I mean, every single fan when we walked out of Madison Square Garden the second fight knew I won that fight. They said, hey, how did you not get your hand raised? Like, they were all just like in shock and disbelief. He won one round. The second round was his round. Okay, you got one round. It's a 5-round fight. So, I know I'm better than Kamaru Usman. Like, the first fight we fought, with the food poisoning going in and the bad reffing. I was fighting 2-on-1 that night. Mark Not So God was stopping. I kicked him in the liver. The guy was done. He literally caught him in the liver. His organs were shutting down, and everybody knows when you get hit in the body shot in the liver, it'll shut your body down. And it doesn't matter how tough you are mentally, you will shut down. He was ready to shut down. They gave him a 5-minute break. And then these pushing me, Mark is pushing me like, oh, calm down, Colby, calm down, grabbing me, taking my energy away, like completely took my focus out of the fight, that first fight. But the second fight I won. The trilogy fight needs to happen for sure. If he leaves and we never get to fight that trilogy, then I'll have that over him. Then he didn't want to fight me, and I was a better fighter than him. So I hope it happens. I think that's a fight that needs to happen.
Sean Strickland is set to challenge for the UFC middleweight title once again in his rematch with Dricus du Plessis at UFC 312. After his win over Paulo Costa in June, Strickland stuck to his plan of waiting for his shot at DDP, and it paid off when the fight was officially announced this past weekend at UFC 310. For Strickland's head coach at Extreme Couture, Eric Nixick, the next few months will be all about figuring out how to adjust their game plan to beat DDP in Sydney, Australia. Their first fight at UFC 297 ended in a close split decision that crowned du Plessis the 185-pound champion. After Khamzat Chimaev's impressive submission win over Robert Whittaker at UFC 308, there was talk of Khamzat possibly being the next title challenger. But right now, both teams are focused on the rematch, knowing that if they win in February, Khamzat will likely be their next opponent. In a recent interview with Submission Radio, Nixick was asked which fighter he sees as a bigger threat to Strickland between the current champ, du Plessis, and the other top contenders. He explained that right now, du Plessis is the toughest challenge because he won their first fight and became the champion. He acknowledged that while Khamzat brings a different set of challenges, those will need to be addressed once the matchup is actually on the table. But for now, DDP remains the primary focus. Daniel Cormier shared his thoughts on why UFC featherweight champion Ilia Topuria might lack the motivation to defend his title despite his dominant victories over top competitors. The Georgian fighter recently expressed interest in moving up to lightweight for a potential showdown with top contenders like Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier, hinting that his time in the 145-pound division may be over. On his Funky and the Champ show with Ben Askren, DC suggested that Ilia's mindset might be impacted by mental fatigue rather than physical exhaustion. Quote, when you beat the best guys, especially the two guys that ruled the division for so long, there can be a little bit of fatigue in there. It's not like muscle fatigue, it's mental fatigue. You have to be so up to do what he did to Max Holloway and to do what he did to Volkanovski. I don't care what people tell you. The only ones that believed he would do what he did were Ilia Topuria and his team. You don't knock out Max Holloway. He knocked out Volkanovski. You don't do those things back to back. While contenders like Movsar Evloev and Diego Lopez are waiting in the featherweight division, DC believes Topuria may struggle to stay motivated after beating such iconic figures. For now, it seems the champion is focused on new challenges in the lightweight division, where bigger fights and higher stakes could help reignite his drive. Before steamrolling Max Holloway earlier this year, UFC featherweight champion Ilia Topuria already had his sights set on a bigger challenge, moving up to face Islam Makhachev for his lightweight title. Few took his ambition seriously though, with challengers still waiting at 145 pounds and Dana White not liking fighters to move up without dominating their division. Ilia's bold statement seemed unlikely. Earlier today, El Matador has officially announced his move to 155 pounds, not as a one-off, but as a permanent decision, and his sights are set high, with Charles Oliveira as his preferred opponent. However, with Oliveira next in line for a title shot, many are questioning if the Brazilian would risk his position to face El Matador. This uncertainty has sparked the question, if not Oliveira, then who? According to Ilia's coach, Jorge Climate, there's already an intriguing plan in mind: Dustin Poirier.
Well, that is going to be a great match. He have very good skill in striking. He's a tough guy, but I think Ilia have a better striking. I think he have a better wrestling, and the jiu-jitsu of Ilia is great. I know Dustin have a very good jiu-jitsu. I think it's a very good match, but I think Ilia can knock him down or finish him.
Dustin Poirier confirms his interest in this matchup on Twitter. Earlier today, the Diamond reposted a tweet from a Twitter user saying, "Hear me out. If Ilia wants to move to lightweight, do Ilia Topuria versus Dustin Poirier. Jorge Masvidal versus Leon Edwards is a fight fans have been eager to see ever since Gamebred landed the infamous 3-piece and soda on Rocky in 2019. Now, Masvidal says the matchup could be set for the UFC's return to London in March 2025. Masvidal shared a clip from the OG podcast where he suggested the fight might happen if he isn't booked for a still unannounced event in Florida. "I'm gonna fight April. Miami is what I'm thinking," he said. The UFC hasn't officially signed off on that. Some interesting offers on the table. I'm just waiting to see who it is. "You know, I've heard rumors that they want me to go to England," Masvidal added. "There's a certain somebody over there that I already served them up a meal before, and they were like, yo, this dude is hungry. He wants to eat again. Can you do deliveries?" Masvidal continued, "I said, sure, let me look at my calendar. I think I might be free in March. I can serve him up the hot plates. Uber Eats across the pond. I'm going across the pond right to England. I'll show up there and deliver the meal, you know, so UFC just has to let me know." Although it's past its prime, Edwards versus Masvidal is still an exciting matchup. Even fans in the UK aren't particularly hyped about Edwards' fights unless there's a compelling opponent, and Jorge certainly fits that role. If Edwards' claim about headlining UFC London holds true, the promotion will need a thrilling fight like this one to boost the excitement for the event. Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for daily MMA news.